What's up, guys? Welcome to Archer Amplified. I'm Archer. I'll be here every Monday talking to you about my job as a full-time musician and all the hurdles that come along with that. You'll hear about shows, songwriting, and everything that goes on behind the curtain. If you're curious about when I'm playing my shows, make sure you go to archermusicxx.com to check out my show schedule. Also, give me a follow on Instagram and Facebook. Just search Archer Music XX. So in this episode, I'm going to answer some of the most asked questions that I get at my shows. How did you start music? And when did you start music? And what inspired you to keep doing this? It's a bit of a story, but if you stick around, I'll tell you about it. So, I got my first guitar when I was 4 as a Christmas present, and honestly, I was super excited. My dad's always played guitar. He'd played John Denver and Peter, Paul, and Mary and those kinds of songs and from those artists, so I was always interested in it. I've always been singing, but I was also super shy. Like, I'm not even kidding. I would hide behind my parents whenever anybody would come and try to talk to me. So it was honestly not my first dream. I wanted to be a photographer like my dad, because that's what he did. But I've always played music and I was always singing. I just never thought I'd be able to do it. So I'd also always written songs. Like in 5th grade, I'd sit with my friend and write these songs or poems or whatever in like paragraph form, not even verse form, just paragraph form, as my little kid brain worked. And I just tried to make them rhyme and make them sound, I don't know, good, I guess. That's what I would do on the playground instead of playing. So as I got older, I got a little more interested in guitar because, when you're 4, you can only get interested in things so much. So I started taking lessons with this guy named Justin. He taught me a lot. I was still super shy, and I really barely even talked, but he kind of knew what music I listened to, which was literally just Taylor Swift at the time. So he taught me how to, play chords and learn what, reading chords looked like and tab and where to put my fingers. And I remember I told him, or my mom told him or something, that I really liked to sing and I was way too shy. It was like 3 lessons in and I was way too shy to sing, but I finally did. But it was more like whispering. So to kind of get me out of that, he would set up a microphone every single session and have me sing into it and learn to sing into a microphone and kind of explain to me the importance of keeping your head still in front of a microphone. So that kind of got me into getting used to using a microphone. And then he figured out that I like to write songs. Well, of course, then I had to play him a song that I wrote. And then he's like, well, you keep changing the way that you're strumming. You got to figure out how to make it consistent. So he actually taught me my first strumming pattern, which is down, down, up, up, down. And honestly, I still use that today. It is my go-to strumming for anything, unless I need to change it for something a little bit more difficult. But he also taught me how to structure a song, like verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, maybe a double chorus, I don't know, stuff like that. So it didn't look so much like paragraph form like I was doing in 5th grade. But, he just kind of helped me along with the songwriting aspect as a very, very much beginner. Well, he had this band, him and his friends, while they were still in high school, but him and his friends had this band. And I'd been taking lessons from him for, I don't know, a few years on and off. Like, I was also into golf and softballs and, normal kid things. So I would, kind of take some time from guitar and go play golf and play softball and kind of focus on something different. Kind of, like how consistent can you be, I guess. Well, so right around 12 or 13, I was really into it, and music was just all I wanted to do. And so he had seen how I'd been progressing. I'd learned, a lot of chords. It took me a month to learn B minor. It was my first bar chord, and it is currently my favorite chord. So once I figured out, a lot of that stuff, he was like, hey, my band has this show downtown. Do you want to come play between sets just to kind of get you out there, get you some exposure so you can see what it feels like to be on stage? And I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah, I want to do that. Okay. But I was like really nervous. I played You Belong With Me by Taylor Swift and like a song that I had written. And then he said he was going to come up and play one song with me. So that I wouldn't be so like nervous. So I played the show and all of my family came out. My dad is the baby of 9. So we have a pretty big family, pretty good support system. So they all came out and listened to me sing, standing still, moving my head around the microphone. Probably really wasn't good, but I was nervous out of my mind. And apparently my mom was way more nervous than I was because she told me that, later she was so relieved when that show was over because, she didn't have to be nervous anymore. I didn't really mess up. Everything went okay. I didn't forget the words. I didn't get stage fright. So that was my first show and I loved it. Everybody else at my high school was at the football game against our high school rivals, and I was literally downtown playing some songs between sets from this band, and I could not have been happier. Like everybody else in my school, everybody else was at this football game, and I was downtown because that was me. That's what I wanted to do. So, a few months later, I'm still not. I didn't book any shows. I didn't know how. Didn't know how to book shows. I didn't think of that. I was still in school, so school priority. I don't know how to book shows. So a few people caught wind that I played, and the people that were at the First Friday Art Walk heard that I played and were there, and they had another First Friday Art Walk, a few months later, and they're like, hey, can you come play for about 30 minutes? And I'm like, yeah. And then, so I had to go learn 30 minutes worth of material because I didn't know 30 minutes worth committed to memory. Like, no, I was learning geometry formulas. So I played downtown. I learned my 30 minutes worth of material. I played downtown and I got paid. And I didn't know I was going to get paid. I did not know to ask for money. I didn't know that. I just thought that they wanted me to play because they heard me that one time. So yeah, they paid me. My first paid show was when I was 13, and again, I loved it. It was still, First Friday Art Walk stuff that I got booked for, every once in a while. I played shows here and there throughout high school. I still didn't go out of my way to book shows. I was still too shy. I didn't know how to do it. So I didn't try, and I was too scared to ask questions. I didn't know who to ask, still in school. So my junior year in high school, there's this guitar ensemble class, and the teacher's name was Mark Dillon. And he was a very outgoing teacher, and I was a very shy student. So I'd always heard he was super dope, but I never, tried to talk to him. I was like, hey, I play guitar. Well, I had some electives and I had an easier semester or whatever, and I signed up for guitar ensemble. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I can learn something. Well, guitar ensemble was for everybody that didn't know how to play guitar, but I knew how to play guitar. So I talked to him. I was like, hey, Mr. Dillon, I already kind of know this stuff. What else can I do? And he's like, what? Show me. So I had to show him. He's like, okay, well, let me show you this room. So he took me across the hallway to this little storage closet and cleared it out. We set it up, and he's like, okay, I'm going to teach you how to record. I'm like, wait a minute, what? You want me to what? He's like, yeah, we're going to teach you how to record since you already know all that other stuff. I'm like, okay. So he brought me, this interface that I didn't know how to use and these mic cables that I had never really, done much with, and a microphone and set things up. And he was like, okay, so you have a school laptop, you have GarageBand on it. Let's teach you how to plug this in, and then you record something and bring it back. And this is how I'm going to grade you. Okay. Okay, so he leaves, goes back to his class, and I'm in this storage closet that used to hold chairs, and I'm learning how to record. Yeah. So we called it the Bat Cave. Yeah, that was called the Bat Cave. And I spent a lot of my time in the Bat Cave. That's where I went. Like every time I had Mr. Dillon's class, I would just go in the Bat Cave and I would learn some songs and learn to record them and bring them back to him. So that's how he would grade me and give me assignments. Just, hey, go to the Bat Cave and record something. Okay. Well, if I had a question, then I would obviously, go back and be like, hey, how do you make it not sound like screechy or whatever? So he would always take the time to come and help me and explain and like show me something new and explain to me what these fancy words were and like what EQ was. And I was like, whoa, EQ, that's insane. I didn't know anything. So I, like I said, I spent a lot of time in there and I wrote songs in there. So it was really cool to be able to take, I think class 90 minutes. It was cool to take an hour and a half of my time to just write and figure out things because, there's no way I would have done that outside of school. I wrote a song in there about 9/11, and I'd shown it to him. I'd shown it to my parents and a couple of my friends, and they're like, whoa, this is like pretty good. So my dad sent it to our local radio station, and they actually played it. And I was over the moon, not even kidding. I was so excited that they played my song and they were saying my name and they were saying, how she wrote this song in school the other day, and isn't this just, whatever, amazing. Let's all take a minute to think about the people who fallen at 9/11. And I was just mind blown that, I don't know, that they were interested enough to play my songs on the radio, or just my one song on the radio. So, that obviously fueled me to keep writing. Mr. Dillon, I wanted to take as many classes with Mr. Dillon after that because it's like, well, I did all this cool creative stuff that I wanted to do, and let's keep doing it. So he talked me into taking chorus and marching band my senior year. Marching band was not what I was going to do. Okay, it wasn't. I just saw it as an opportunity to be in the classroom with all these guitars, like be around music or whatever. And I don't know. It was not what I wanted to do. I wanted to switch classes, not even kidding. Well, so back to chorus. Chorus was with a teacher named Mr. Fry, and he introduced me to learning a bit more about piano and how it can correspond to the guitar, like the frets and the strings compared to the keys, like the black keys and the white keys, and how they're, kind of intertwined. And how he always said when he would look at a guitar, he would see 6 different pianos because that's just how, his brain worked with playing piano and singing. So that was really cool to learn about that. And then in marching band, I actually had a lot more fun than I anticipated. Now, my high school was really small. We had 150 people in the graduating class, and nobody wanted to be in marching band, but, I was, and there were a few other people. There were, 3 bass drums, 2 snares, 1 quad, and then we had the three girls, me and the 2 others on cymbals. Like, okay, so yeah, I played cymbals. Well, I actually made some really good friends in there, and I somehow became more confident through this situation. I guess because I had to do things in front of a lot of people. Like, we had to do pep rally, and we had to come up with this whole thing, this whole show with like t-shirts and all this stuff. And it was actually pretty fun. And I learned a lot. Like, it actually helped me. It helped me like hone in on rhythm and keeping time, because at that point I'd never really played with anybody before, especially on guitar. I'd play guitar and then other people would be like, "Oh, hey, she's playing guitar. She doesn't sound like the other people in this class. I'm going to listen to her." I don't know, whatever. So I'd never really played with other people. So that really helped me to kind of understand how to go about things based off of what the other sounds were doing and kind of what made sense. And that was really fun. And it actually, so I use a loop pedal in my shows. So I'm pressing buttons with my feet, having to keep time. If you mess up, you can tell, and it messes up the whole thing. And then you have to start over. It's a whole situation. But I have now realized that taking marching band helped me keep time with my feet, and I'm now able to kind of use that to keep time on the pedals, I guess, kind of come in at the right time, whereas I think that it would have been a lot harder if I didn't do that. So, thank you, Mr. Dillon, for talking me into signing up for marching band, even though I didn't want to, and for helping teach me all these things that I ended up needing. I literally spent all of my time in the Batcave learning songs and learning to record, and it was honestly the best part about high school. I wasn't really a fan of high school. I didn't really, I did well. I cared about my grades and I worked hard, but it wasn't something that I wanted to live in forever, because I was this, unpopular girl that, worked in a storage closet called the Batcave to write songs, and I was really shy. I was like this really shy softball player because I played softball. So, it wasn't somewhere that I wanted to stay. I really had no idea that all of that time in that little storage room would have had such an impact on my future. Up next on Archer Amplified, I'll be expanding a bit more on the Batcave and how it helped shape what I would go on to do with music. Don't forget to check out my website, archermusicxx.com, for my music, and to follow me on all of my socials. Just search Archer Music XX. Thank you for listening.